Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Hey everybody, welcome again to Danny's Weekend Sports Wrap right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. As usual, we've got a mix of the good, the bad, the ugly, the interesting, the mundane, all those kind of things on a holiday weekend. First of all, hope you had a great holiday. We dodged the raindrops at the right times, at least in my area, to actually enjoy the weekend a bit. One of the most enjoyable parts of the weekend was certainly my visit to Sporting Kansas City's game as they took on Seattle in an amazing game, and I took that one in as a fan, but a fan who was going to comment on the game. So it was work in a way. I'm not going to claim it was digging a ditch, but my reactions will be part of this particular podcast as well. And the Royals played some baseball over the weekend. They didn't play some baseball over the weekend, too, during the rain. That was an ugly situation in Chicago. Good work by the weather people there as they have a 2.5-hour rain delay in which they probably could have played some baseball and then immediately return, and 5 minutes later it rained so hard that the game eventually has to be stopped and is a suspended game. But the Royals just continue to be kind of the same old thing. That doesn't sound like the sexiest topic, but it's among the interesting ones coming up next, right here.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention. And our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
Get a refreshing change of your expectations of a sports bar and restaurant at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Matt Llewellyn's welcoming spot at Clinton Parkway in Castle covers all the bases, like their own handcrafted beers and all the televisions you need for great sports viewing, but it's the large, varied, and delicious menu that stands apart. From a favorite of mine like the awesome ahi tuna appetizer to great sandwiches, outstanding pizza, and truly fantastic entrees, the 23rd Street Brewery has it all. Matt and his friendly staff make it that much more enjoyable. Food until 10, fun until late. The 23rd Street Brewery is a can't-miss stop when you are in Lawrence. Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code Clinkscale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape. Well, it was just fitting that after 9 long games of not winning a game, the Sporting Kansas City club picked a glorious Sunday evening to pull off a real great one, a 3-2 win against Seattle, a game it looked like they might have complete control in, but eventually had to hang on for dear life. 3-2, 5 goals, a hat trick for Johnny Russell. Just an absolutely glorious atmosphere at Sporting. I think the fans were hungry to get that excitement back, and they showed it. The place was electric throughout. Sporting Kansas City started out controlling the action, getting most of the play, getting twice as many of the shots early on, eventually getting a goal from Johnny Russell. But slowly Seattle, which had lost only one game all year long, was working their way back into the match as the first half went along, seemingly finding their footing. But then Russell made it 2-0 on an absolutely spectacular play where he weaved through four players and left them all standing there wondering what the hell they didn't do. And what he did was 3 times left-footed into the back of the net. But when he made it 2-0 right before the half, it seemed like it might be a pretty easy night at the office for Sporting. Now, Sporting doesn't really have a rival per se. Now, Wednesdays or the post that they've put out there for Sunday's game, they're going to play 3 games in 7 days against Houston, paints Houston as a rival, and they played enough times and enough important games that it kind of got to that point in time. Seattle certainly has created some misery for Sporting over the last couple of years. Portland has. I heard people refer to Seattle as a hated franchise. I don't know. One of the problems with MLS is the fact that unlike European soccer or South American soccer or Mexican soccer for that reason, there isn't really the closeness geography-wise to create the derbies that you get in England where teams are basically from the same community. There's, I think, 5 or 6, depending on whether teams get promoted in London itself, for instance. So you just don't have that in MLS. And I'm not going to say it's a problem for Sporting because Sporting thrives and they sell out virtually every game, and they have great excitement and great atmosphere. But it would be kind of nice to have more of that feeling where, you know, in the Premier League, like 3,000 fans a lot of times get on the train usually and head to another locale that isn't that far away and create a great atmosphere, and tickets have to be allotted for them. And that doesn't really happen in MLS. You have some traveling groups, like Seattle probably had a couple hundred, and it's a fun thing for them, and Sporting has their own traveling group, obviously. But it just isn't quite the same thing. But still, it's something that just isn't going to have to be dealt. It can't be dealt with in the United States. If St. Louis gets a team, that would be the closest thing that Sporting would have to a geographical rival. So it just doesn't exist in MLS. Is it a problem? Yes, as compared to some of the areas in the rest of the world, but there's nothing you can really do about it. Still, this game had a rivalry type of atmosphere, and it looked like Sporting and their fans were going to enjoy just a day in the sun when it was 2-0 at halftime. Well, Seattle wasn't going to really let that happen in the second half. They twice closed to within 1 goal, and then it turned into a just wide-open, rip-roaring affair. Seattle, which is a very strong defensive team, is throwing caution to the wind because they were down 2 goals 2 different times, and then they absolutely stormed the gates towards the end of the game and forcing Tim Melia at one point to, I think Sam McDowell in the Star referred to it as go all backyard goalkeeper. He made a terrible blunder with the ball and then ended up having to make 3 saves to make up for it, and he did so in not any kind of fashion where you would draw it up as a keeper. He was just diving around, making sure the ball didn't go in the net, and Sporting ended up really kind of holding on right to the finish to the point where at the end a long pass went to Johnny Russell, and he was contesting it with another player, and those 2 went up for it. There was a lot of contact. It was in the box. Nothing was called. Don't think it really deserved to be called in any way, shape, or form. When that happened and the final whistle went up, Russell really exulted. Sporting really exulted. This match meant an incredible amount to them. The 9-game winless streak was over, and it was in a super exciting game. And as I said, in the open, I was able to enjoy it as a fan. I sat there by myself, absorbing the game completely, soaking it in. I love doing that. No distractions. The fans around me enjoying the game. Me more as an observer, still a fan, still enjoying the atmosphere, but really trying to get some of the nuances of the game and everything. It's just a tremendous atmosphere and a very, very important win for Sporting Kansas City. If they hadn't gotten the point in this game, and when you were talking about the game as it moved along, it seemed like 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go. It really had the feeling of the Vancouver game the week before when the Whitecaps pulled one out at the end, and you just kept getting the feeling that indeed Seattle was going to get that equalizer, but they did not, and Sporting gets the vital win, and now they're just a handful of points out of a playoff spot here about 1/3 of the way through the season. And a result the other way would have been not calamitous, but it certainly would have dug a deeper hole for Sporting Kansas City. Now they're in a position where they have these two big matches coming up. If that one had gotten away, those 2 points had gotten away, an equalizer had come with a turnaround right away, and they have to play the LA Galaxy on Wednesday, and then they have to travel to Houston on Saturday. Very vigorous schedule for a team that still has injury problems, no question about that. Yeah, very important few days, was kicked off in just the right way, and can't say enough about the fun, the atmosphere, the enjoyable sporting aspect of it. And this was the kind of game where even if somebody went, say, for the first time and they weren't necessarily a soccer fan, they were going to be able to get caught up on this. 5 goals is fairly unusual in a soccer game, especially when it's a close soccer game. And Johnny Russell's individual brilliance also was captivating in the game. Really was a great, great day on a Sunday for me, for sporting, and I think for soccer in Kansas City, as if it needed more of a boost, and it should be another big night on Wednesday, and I'm really looking forward to that. On the other side of it, the Royals actually got an occasional win on Sunday. That's about what they do, get an occasional win. They basically lose 2 out of every 3 games. And as the weekend was going along, and they lost the first 2 especially, and thankfully they did get that win Sunday. And like most of the Royals wins, there's kind of a feel-good aspect to it. They hit some home runs, and some of the players that you can count on from the future, like Hunter Dozier, had big days, and Danny Duffy pitched well. And those are the things you cling to now. But the relentlessness of the season and the fact that, once again, here we are for the second consecutive year, and by Memorial Day, the Royals are basically irrelevant, it is tinged with a little sadness. It is rebuilding. You analyze it. You know that that's the case. But the way they're going about it does have a bit of a bad drumbeat to it, because they never put anything together at all. Usually bad teams, even right now, Oakland was playing bad baseball. Now they've won 10 in a row. Even the Marlins, who were dreadful, have won 7 out of 10. The Royals haven't done any of that. Since they swept Cleveland early in April, they have now gone 6 weeks without winning a game on consecutive days. They have had a couple of 2-game winning streaks, but they either came on a doubleheader on one day, or they came with a day separating them. So, and this consecutive day wins can't happen again until at least Wednesday. So that's the thing that makes it kind of a drip, drip, drip of annoyance when you're following the Royals. Starting pitching is either lackluster or worse than that. The bullpen, while better than it was in its calamitous start to the season, is certainly not greatly effective. And the guys who aren't hitting continue not to hit. The guys who are hitting continue to be bright spots. Dozier, Merrifield, Mondesi, Gordon. Nicky Lopez came up and made a splash. Now he's in a little bit of a funk. His handling of him in the order, to me, wasn't particularly wise. They put him in at second, and it was an old-time baseball second. Second in the order is now reserved for the best hitters in the game. Mike Trout hit second. All kinds of people who are really fine players hit second. And it's not the guy who's supposed to follow the leadoff batter in 1979 or 1984, who's a contact guy, can get a bunt down, hit the ball the other way, advance a runner. That's not what the number 2 hitter is, and that's kind of what Nicky Lopez is at his best, a pesky guy with little power, but certainly came up and hit. So it didn't look like in any way a bad move. Well, now he's not hitting, and it's not a long span of time, but he's down to 245. And just the way that whole thing happened as well is you just hope that Nicky Lopez finds his footing, but I don't think they did him any favors by hitting him second and then moving him to leadoff when they apparently realized that wasn't such a good idea, and that their lineup construction at that point, where the top of the lineup had been so good anyway, that there was no really reason to do anything like that. The Royals' timing really couldn't be worse for interest either. And nobody was expecting contention this year, but now they're once again on a 100-loss pace. I don't think really anybody really expected that either. They also chose to go a path in defense and stealing bases and playing a unique kind of baseball in a year where they're going to set in all likelihood, baseball's major league home run record, and home runs are being hit all over the place.